Use headphones for a better experience.
This story is a warning. If you're ever staying somewhere unfamiliar, don't ignore the red flags. What started as a weekend getaway turned into the most terrifying experience of my life. And it could happen to you. It was supposed to be a relaxing weekend. My two friends, Sarah and Chris, and I rented a secluded Airbnb in the mountains. The listing promised a charming cabin with modern amenities and total privacy. Perfect, right? When we arrived, the place was off. It wasn't charming, it was decrepit. The shutters hung loosely, the paint was peeling, and the windows were so dusty you could barely see inside. Sarah joked, "This looks like the start of a horror movie," but we laughed it off. The host had left a key in a lockbox by the door. Inside, the cabin was cold and smelled faintly of mildew. It was darker than the photos online, with old furniture and outdated decor. There was no Wi-Fi, no cell signal, and only one landline phone, which sat on a dusty table in the corner. Chris, always the optimist, said, "At least it's peaceful." We unpacked and tried to settle in, but little things kept nagging at me. The light switches didn't always work. Some doors wouldn't open, and one in particular, the door to the basement, was padlocked from the outside. That night, the three of us sat around the fireplace, trying to make the best of it. We talked, played card games, and drank wine. By midnight, Sarah and Chris were ready for bed, but I stayed up, unable to shake the strange vibe of the house. As I was cleaning up, I heard something. It was faint at first, like a low hum or whisper, coming from the direction of the basement. I told myself it was just the wind or old pipes, but curiosity got the better of me. I walked over to the basement door, crouched down, and pressed my ear against it. For a moment, there was nothing. Then I heard it. Soft footsteps, like someone pacing back and forth. I froze. My rational brain told me it had to be an animal or my imagination, but my gut said otherwise. I woke up Chris and Sarah, trying not to sound too alarmed. Chris grabbed a flashlight, and the three of us stood in front of the locked door. "Let's just check," Chris said. "It's probably nothing." Using a hammer from the fireplace tools, Chris managed to break the old padlock. The door creaked open, revealing a steep staircase leading down into pitch darkness. The air smelled damp and metallic, like rust or old blood. We descended slowly, the flashlight beam shaking in Chris's hand. At the bottom, we found a small, windowless room. It was filled with strange items, old furniture, tattered clothes, and a collection of Polaroid photos pinned to the walls. The photos were of people, couples, families, solo travelers, all posed in front of the cabin. Some were smiling, but others looked terrified. That's when we noticed a video camera set up on a tripod in the corner, pointing at a chair in the middle of the room. The chair had leather straps attached to the armrests and legs, as if meant to hold someone down. We backed away, horrified. "We need to leave," Sarah whispered. As we turned to go back upstairs, the door at the top of the staircase slammed shut. We ran up, pounding on it, but it wouldn't budge. The landline phone started ringing, its shrill tone echoing down into the basement. Chris and I sprinted upstairs, leaving Sarah behind as she froze in panic. When we reached the phone, Chris picked it up. He didn't say anything, just listened, his face going pale. He hung up without a word and whispered, "They're watching us." I grabbed the phone and tried to call for help, but the line was dead. Suddenly, we heard footsteps above us, heavy, deliberate steps moving across the floor. We rushed back to the basement, grabbing Sarah along the way. Huddled together in the corner, we heard the sound of someone unlocking the front door. Whoever it was didn't speak. We could hear them walking around upstairs, their footsteps growing louder as they approached the basement door. Then, the door creaked open, and we saw the beam of a flashlight scanning the stairs. Chris grabbed an old metal pipe and whispered, "If they come down here, we fight." But instead, the person stopped at the top of the stairs. In a calm, almost friendly voice, they said, "You weren't supposed to see this." Then, they shut the door and locked it again. We spent hours in the basement, too afraid to move. Eventually, we heard a car start outside and drive away. We forced the basement door open again and fled the cabin, leaving everything behind. When we reported the incident to the police, they found no trace of the Polaroids, the camera, or even the basement room. The Airbnb listing was taken down, and the host disappeared. This experience taught me a hard lesson. Trust your instincts and don't ignore red flags. In today's world, where strangers rent out their homes and privacy is scarce, we put our safety in the hands of people we don't know. The next time something feels wrong, don't wait to find out why. Because not everyone has good intentions, and some places are better left undiscovered.
Don't miss out on the scares. Go subscribe to the channel for terrifying stories, legend breakdowns, and more. Bell turn on notifications and experience horror like never before.